Hi, I thought I explained something. If you get to know me, you may realize that I like for me and for everyone to be self-managing as much as possible. It's the idea of mini company or mini me, whatever you call, that you are here and now to live your life, meaning you manage your life utilizing the best of what you've got and process it, and you find satisfaction in the process and the result, and at the same time you get rewarded. You feel good about sharing the outcome, whatever the outcome, or even the process is outcome for the people or all beings around. So that's your mini universe to manage, and that's the whole principle. Actually, when my son was growing up, I practiced this mini company idea to him, whether he realized or not. So if he asked the question, I ask back why you asked the question. So to get to the point that I'm not the one to give all the answers to live, for him to live his life, it is for him to find the path. And my role, as I see it, whether he agreed or not, is, well, he didn't know because he was so young. But anyway, my role I saw was for him to be a good adult and live well, and for me to move on. And I said the same thing in the company for managers to be the president of his area of responsibility, knowing the customer, supplier, his boss, and his employees. And I mentioned that his job is to eliminate his job, which is to delegate lots of work to be done for the people to grow up and for him to find whatever he wants to do, possibly go up hierarchy of the organization or do something else. And when he leaves, things are still carried according to this principle of the mini company, that there's easy to follow processes like what's the mission of that location, who they are, who are the customers, suppliers, bankers, employees, what kind of a process they've got, machine or whatever, and have the mission to achieve what they think is the best for this mini company, which should be aligned to the overall goal of the total company. So you have to have the relationship with the banker, but also customer, suppliers, and with employees, so that the situation is clear, the mission, and accordingly, the customer-supplier relationship is clear. And there's a key performance indicator to monitor how you're doing. And then you have a plan, and then doing the plan, checking the plan, acting upon what you have checked to go through the PDCA, but start with check always, so that you can keep on improving your performance, involving people, satisfying the customers, work with suppliers, utilize the machine and whatever you got and the people's talent, and the shared idea with the boss, your banker that you report to, so that this banker understands what you do in your annual report, quarterly report, whatever, so that how it's working is each to do this mini company idea and the mini company all the way to the shop floor to the each individual. So actually there are cases of people who are the mini company president sharing their annual report with their family. This is what the daddy does, and this is how I manage, and this is who my boss is, and employees, machines, computers, whatever, and how to develop a plan and process it. And there are those stories that was shared. So that's the self-managing principle. And if we do that, people do not wait for the boss to tell you what to do. Rather, you explain, boss, this is what we should do, so that the empowerment helps to utilize the capacity, ability of the whole people and the machine and everything for the organization to grow and the company to grow and the customers to be happy and shareholders to be happy and the society is happy. So it's a long story to get here, but the bottom line is self-managing capability. So I just did this meditation, and the task or the core, and I said it, was to ask whoever was there to answer this question, which is, what's your life is all about? Answer to me. And that was the question, and we meditated on that one. It just happened today, so I don't know what the outcome is. But supposedly, if they're interested, they may do it and share what their output is in the feedback or the comment. And then we may find, maybe we don't find anything out there, but that's part of the way for each of us to question ourselves, what's important, why we do it, and be able to explain it. And if you cannot explain to yourself, how can you lead your life and manage? In some cases, if I just say one more thing, because I can have all the other things connect to this, in the family, they can do this self-managing, and I call it life profile. So each, say, husband and wife each does this life profile idea and go through this mini company kind of thing and share that output with each other. So they may find certain priorities one has may not match with the other, but they get to see for each what's important, what they want to do, and all that kind of stuff. Some family has done it. Some psychologists I shared had practiced. To what degree it expanded, I don't know, but I share this idea. And personally, I have been doing it for the 25 years after my awakening experience, so that I can monitor how things are, to be self-managing. So if you kind of understand where I'm from and what I do and why I talk about the self-managing and not waiting someone to do something because you get tail end of whatever can happen and you may not be able to manage your life as well. So what's the story of this about? I almost forget. Yes, it's about self-managing, accountability, and ownership. That's the bottom line of it. Maybe I should take a look at the beginning of this video, and if there's something to be added, I'll add it later. But basically, if we have that spirit to live our own life, navigate, have some kind of a view, mission, dream, and have sincerity and truthfulness to yourself with all others, and process it with PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act, or Shila Samadhi Panya, have a moment to have samadhi, so that, now I remember it. So that the reason why I start to talk about is this, that we may have the relationship, man to women, sometimes man to man or women to women, I don't know about that. But anyway, whatever the relationship you have, right, like the case of the family and life profile idea, each person has its own character and how they have grown up with certain habit. You can call it karma. That may work well, or the two of them may have different orientation. So what happens if this relationship doesn't work? I guess that was the main point. And because I'm living alone now, I can relate to that. And in fact, I like being alone because if you have two people to check and balance and the resources shared and the priorities kind of mesh together, it's like the organization, which is much more complex, but between two of you to figure this out. So this life profile idea may help because that would clarify not just verbally and emotionally, but with some objective way of, numerical numbers and stuff like that, the satisfaction level and the importance level, those two things typically I suggest. So that may help, but if you're alone, like in my case, I may feel lonely sometimes. I wonder if I do often or not. But there's, I'm still alive, so I have some feeling, let's say, toward women, for the sake of discussion, right? Then I would wonder, what is this related to what I just talked about, ownership and responsibility, and what's the word, self-managing? Having fun and things can happen, but ultimately this is what I think. By true relationship at the core of my being is, some may call it, with God. But in my case, I don't like so much the term God, but I replaced the term God as the laws of nature. And that laws of nature is not easy to describe. Actually, it's not possible to describe in words and the logic because it is what it is. And we have the limitation of knowing all of it, as much as the case for the God, that there's an infinite wisdom and compassion, the same thing. But when or if you or me have this relationship, I call it not the identity of me and the God, but rather within myself, the heart, that's my image, which is the easy way to explain that the heart is the source of my liveliness and the root of my tree of life that I made analogy and explained in other video. So I'm with that all the time. Because of that, I'm alive. And that's the relationship I have. In fact, there's no relationship because what I think as a relationship is only in the mind. So when the mind is empty, as in samadhi and no mind, no thinking, then you are just one. It is what it is. That's what I said. And posted on the little piece of paper right there. Always it is what it is. It's absolute state of being. And when you have that, there's no conflict. Some call it the non-duality. I like the term, the way, and also what comes with it by saying it is the state of the root of who we are, the core of our being, absolute state of what's going on, and it is what it is. And that's the source of wisdom and compassion and the way of living and the liveliness coming out of it. It is the life within that we are riding the wave of the universe, as I often call it. So the relationship is direct, but we may not notice it. But that's the ultimate. It's absolute. So that is the eternal home. And I'm maybe reminded every now and then, and that may be the major reason of my doing this YouTube, so that I always feel at home. And when I'm deviated, the thought pops up, oh, maybe this, that. And then I, if I may say, align it to the root by connecting to it, by connecting in samadhi, or like I said multiple times in a day, I do it. Not to justify to you, but for myself to clarify so that I'm at peace as to who I am. So that's the story related to my self-management. and what this life is all about in a nutshell. I didn't mean to answer the koan, but I may have just done it in a logical way. But I have the image of how would present the response to this koan, which I generated. But if I had the moment of meeting this person, Roshi, who gave me this koan, I have another more powerful answer to that without this long 15 minutes of talk. Because in Zen, the koan process is done in a closed area that nobody can hear and see, that just two of them just go through what's the sound of one hand clapping or whatever that koan. And this koan is what I developed just for the sake of just interesting question I had today after cutting the tree branches. And I shared that in the meditation I do every day for 20 minutes, using that as a koan. So in a way, I always talk about the heart and all the other stuff to go with it. But there's that relationship. You divide yourself as my entity and the laws of nature, or you and your God, or you and Amida Buddha. And that's why Namu Amida Butsu means I let go of myself for the vow of Amida to help me. Powerful. And that's why they are, if I may say so, happy, enlightened in some way or the other, and living life with different, as if connecting to that dimension, which we may forget we have. Everybody has that. The laws of nature is manifesting everywhere. So that's the story. That the relationship that you have with others, what's the core relationship, and how to navigate your life. If you have the core relationship, I think navigating life may be found with the simple idea of samadhi, Sila Samadhi Panya, with the idea of the plan, do, check, act, the CAPD, starting with check. That's what I think. The question is, what do you think? Have a good day. I think I'm going to swim. Thank you.